Welcome, everyone. Good to see everybody. Here in the Redwood Forest, it's a beautiful morning. It's a great reminder of how lucky we are, all of us, to have the opportunity and the support for practice. And it's always interesting to see that what people would want to do on a Saturday morning or Saturday evening, whatever time of day it is where you are, to reflect on disease and death rather than do a million other things. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty proud of you all. So we'll start with some meditation. Allow yourself to really settle in and relax. And relaxing is so important. It's a kind of letting go, and it's a way of being happy and comfortable. And then even if the body is not really finding a comfortable position, it's okay. We can be comfortable in the heart. Yeah, maybe right now, whatever the causes and conditions are, maybe the heart or the mind aren't comfortable. In this world, there are always so many things that pull us outside, pull our attention outside, or put the focus on our own kind of quote unquote self in a way that we're needing to protect that or deal with problems and issues that come up in life that aren't comfortable. But through our cultivation, through our experience and exploration of the Dhamma, we can observe, witness that discomfort in the body or in the mind, and stepping back from it and watching it, not trying to get rid of it. We can find a different level of comfort, different level of safety, something that's always there, always present, always available when we are available, you might say. And so we're training ourselves to be able to step back into that space. I think of it as stepping back because when we're really caught up in whatever it is that's bothering us or exciting to us or whatever we're grasping or clinging to, when we're caught up in that, it just seems to fill the whole space, the whole screen, the whole awareness of our mind. But when we step back, there's space around it. It's not right at the tip of our nose. It's not consuming everything. We're stepping back to see it, observe it. And we can see and observe pleasant states. Maybe today the body is comfortable, the mind is happy, you've gotten enough rest, you have the safety and support that you need, healthy food, warmth or coolness, depending on where you are, the environment that is supportive of your ease and comfort. And we also observe that, step back from that and observe it, appreciate it. Know that it's subject to change, not as a dark cloud coming overhead. It's more of a relief, accepting, understanding the way things are, the way things work, so that we're not fooled by it. We're not living in delusion. So even in a moment, we can shift from being consumed by the conditions of life, happy or sad, bright or depressing, whatever they are, to being the witness, to being present with, from a point of stability and truth, wisdom, seeing how things actually are, watching the changing, knowing that things are impermanent, constantly changing. You might think they're evolving or you might think they're devolving, but regardless, it's cyclical. Samsara is a cycle. And we see the small cycles of night and day. We see the bigger cycles of the seasons, the years, and everything that is in this conventional reality is related to time, the cycles of lifetimes, the cycles of generations. But in the present moment, when we step back, it's like stepping outside that to observe it. And we see what that is more clearly, but we also experience to some degree the deathless, that which doesn't change. We experience space that has no boundary. We experience consciousness coming from a place of being conscious and aware. Ayya Chitananda and I were talking with a friend about how consciousness is really the fabric of, you might say, the universe, but it's beyond that, boundless. We can't really imagine it. We can only come to know it directly through our going inwards to the intuitive awareness. With that opening up to how things work, how things are. This understanding, this realization comes through insight, available right here, right now. letting go of the sense of self is a relief. We put down a burden. We put down the burden of trying to make it perfect, trying to make it work, trying to make it better, trying to stave off the worst. And then there's happiness and contentment. So when Ajahn Ganha talks about taking your stand in the Dhamma, renouncing the sense of self, being happy in whatever you're doing, that happiness comes naturally. Comes naturally with realizing that we can at any time step back and observe with mindfulness and wisdom. Without self. Another aspect of that experience of taking our stand in the Dhamma is that we recognize that there's no separation between us. And there's no higher and lower, better or worse. No self. No selves to compare, to have disagreements with. Again, we can't really imagine it, or maybe we can to some degree, but that's just thinking. We let go into the actual experience of witnessing and discovering and there's naturally gratitude and metta. And joy. And it might feel a little ironic that putting our attention on how to face disease and death can result in joy and happiness. But it's because of using mindfulness and wisdom to do it. And Listening to Ajahn Sumedho talk about the door to the deathless, or the gate to the deathless being open, and that gate is mindfulness, sati and sampajanya, mindfulness and wisdom. It's not like we have to search and search and search to find the door, to find the gate. Or we have to have, logged 1,000,000 hours of meditation. It's about letting go of our sense of self. And all the conditioning, seeing it for what it is. We still use all that, operate in our daily life. We're getting to the point where that witnessing is ongoing. That letting go of grasping and clinging is our new mode of being. And then the fear of what might happen to us evaporates. Our worries about what has been or what will be, our regrets, we see them for what they are. Just memories, just imaginings, thinking. And let them go. And when we find ourselves clinging, we find ourselves trying to be something, someone, get something, it's okay. It's what we're so highly conditioned to do. But then step back, see it. And as soon as we do that, it loses its power. It loses the stickiness. And we walk through that gate. And sometimes we need the help of our friends to notice, to help us notice. Because we're so used to suffering, we don't notice sometimes that that's really what's going on. We're clinging, we're wanting to get rid of. We don't like the way it is. And we start to try to find a solution outside ourselves. Change this, do that. Blame someone, blame something. But that requires looking outside of ourselves in the world, and it doesn't work. No matter how much we change things, they change again, outside our control. I mean, it's still good to try, but to know what we're doing can make things better. We want to make things better wherever we can. If we do that from this sense this position in the Dhamma. It comes from kindness and compassion, wisdom. And we let go of the outcome. Just do what's good for the sake of goodness. Not to try to be someone or get something, accomplish something, be known for something, none of that. Just for the sake of goodness. Then when it changes again, it's okay. We did what we could. The ultimate relief for everyone, for every person, every deva, comes from the direct experience of nibbana, of mindfulness and wisdom. Not so. So in whatever way, however that is for each of us right now, this is how we position ourselves when we pick up our exploration of the suttas, of the Buddha's words. Of our time together. And then any thoughts of, well, I'm not there yet, I'm not good enough, whatever that is, step back and know that too, for just conditioned thoughts, more sankharas. Don't grasp it, don't identify with it. As soon as you're observing it, you're already there. You're already where you can benefit. So now we'll draw the meditation to a close. I'm going to share the screen and take a look at the sutta. So this is from the numerical discourses, as you can see, and many of you have probably read it already. In case anyone doesn't know where these are listed, they're on our website under teachings, under the winter retreat tab. And this one is with Phagguna, another monk who's sick and gravely ill. And Venerable Ananda goes to the Buddha, bows, sits down to one side, and he says to him, "Sir, Venerable Phagguna is sick. Please go to Venerable Phagguna out of sympathy." Actually, that's Anukamba, which I think is better translated as compassion. But whatever word brings that feeling of you're doing something out of your care for someone and your wish for their well-being. And the Buddha consented with silence. Then in the late afternoon, the Buddha came out of retreat and went to Venerable Phagguna. Venerable Phagguna saw the Buddha coming off in the distance and stirred on his cot. He wants to get up, but he's really sick. And the Buddha says to him, it's all right, Phagguna, don't get up. There are some seats that have been spread out by others, and I'll sit there. So he sits down on a seat spread out, and he says to Venerable Phagguna, I hope you're keeping well, Phagguna. I hope you're all right. I hope the pain is fading and not growing, that its fading is evident, not its growing. And Phagguna answers, I'm not keeping well. I'm not getting by. My pain is terrible and growing, not fading. Its growing is evident, not its fading. But the good news here is that Phagguna is aware, right? He's able to converse with the Buddha. He's able to listen to the Buddha. He's being visited by the Buddha. Wow. But he tells the Buddha, and we've seen this same text in other suttas. It's kind of the standard way that it's described in the suttas. The pain in my head is so severe, it feels like a strong man tightening a strong leather strap around my head. Actually, my grandfather said that once. He used to have headaches, and he said that's it. He used that same image. You know, we know these kinds of pain as human beings. I have never heard anyone talk about the next one, but in the suttas, winds slicing my belly are so severe, like a deft butcher or their apprentice slicing open a cow's belly with a sharp meat cleaver. Yeah, oof. I'm not keeping well. The burning in my body is so severe, it feels like two strong men grabbing a weaker man by the arms to burn and scorch him on a pit of glowing coals. I'm not keeping well. I'm not getting by. The pain is terrible and growing, not fading. Its growing is evident, not its fading. I mean, there's no Tylenol, you know, there's no, yeah, but there is awareness. Then the Buddha educated, encouraged, fired up, and inspired Venerable Phagguna with a Dhamma talk, after which he got up from his seat and left. I have to admit that every time I read this sutta, I think, what did he say? Tell me what he said. Because not long after the Buddha left, Venerable Phagguna passed away, and at the time of his death, his faculties were bright and clear. Have you ever noticed this in yourself or in someone else? Where you just see their glow, they glow from meditation, they glow from insight. Then Venerable Ananda went up to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and said to him, Sir, soon after you left, Venerable Phagguna died. At the time of his death, his faculties were bright and clear. So, like I said, we can see that in someone sometimes. And anyway, I don't know if you've ever had that experience. But the Buddha says, well, why shouldn't they be bright and clear? His mind was not freed from the 5 lower fetters, and this means beforehand. But when he heard that teaching, his mind was freed from them. And now we want, what did you tell him? I want to hear that discourse. But of course, we've heard many of the Buddha's discourses. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So, Ananda, there are these 6 benefits to hearing the teaching at the right time and examining the meaning at the right time. So, the focus in the sutta is on the importance of the time of death and what we might gain from that. Now, of course, it's not the only experience in our lifetime where it's a really choice moment. We can use a time of illness. We can use actually anything. Any time that we can really just let go of all the extra, all the distraction, all of the clinging. But we can take in and kind of imagine how potent it is to recognize that you're about to die. And how motivating that is to let go without it even thinking about it being motivating. It's a very powerful time. So these 6 benefits, he said, first, take the case where I'm going to say a practitioner rather than a mendicant. This is true whether you're monastic or lay, the form is not what's important. It's our intention to practice, to develop. Take the case where a practitioner whose mind is not freed from the 5 lower fetters. So we should at least mention what those are. So the fetter of self-view, personality view, the fetter of believing that we are the body, or feeling our feelings or our perceptions and memories, of believing that we are our thoughts or ideas or mental activity, believing that we are our sense consciousness, the sense of self, our attachment to that, our identification with all of that. That is the first fetter. So, sometimes people say, well, that seems like such a big thing to let go of, to be finished with. Isn't that the whole path? It's like, well, it's huge, but it's not quite the complete ending of our misunderstandings. The second fetter, I think, is most powerfully understood by thinking of it as our social and cultural conditioning. Our conditioning. The first fetter is really our conditioning to think of us as ourselves as a separate self, with all of these, perceptions and views of who we are, and then we're placed in a family situation, we're placed in a culture, we're placed in a time period of civilization. All of those aspects of our conditioning, traditionally it's talked about as the wrong grasp of rites and rituals. And even the word in there is about the precepts. Like if we take any of this religious conditioning or any part of our educational conditioning, any, these aspects, if we identify with these things and believe that this is where we find happiness, we're on the wrong track. This is delusion. So this fetter dropping away is the understanding that that's not who we are. That's not the way to freedom and safety. And the third fetter is doubt. And it's not, there's a healthy kind of doubt, to really not take things on blind faith, but to experience them and examine them and investigate them ourselves and come to know directly what's true, what's not true. But this doubt is in the Dhamma and in the awakened mind. The doubt that we can become enlightened. The doubt that it's possible to be enlightened, that there is a way out of suffering. That doubt falls away, is eradicated with the dropping of that fetter. And then, the Sangha there, the is the noble Sangha. Again, it's not about being a monastic. or having a particular form, or even having a particular religion. It's about understanding that it's possible to awaken, knowing that. The fourth fetter is sensual desire. And the fifth fetter is ill will or aversion. And when those fall away, there's no personal greed or hatred anymore. I can imagine that's really a huge step away from conventional reality and being caught up in conventional reality. But then what's left? There's the desire to be reborn in a material realm. There's a desire to be reborn in an immaterial realm. There's restlessness. There's ignorance, last vestige of ignorance. And I'm missing one. Anybody know what I'm missing? This is the mind aging. No, I was always like this, to be truthful. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Yeah, well. So, but those five lower fetters, if the mind has not been freed from those, at the time of death, this person gets to see the Buddha, the realized one. And the Buddha proclaims a teaching to them that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well phrased. And he reveals a spiritual practice that is entirely full and pure. And when they hear that teaching, their mind is freed from the five lower fetters. So according to the texts, what happens then at the time of death is spontaneous birth, rebirth in the realms, one of the realms that are called the pure abodes. Basically, it's a realm where everyone there gets enlightened. It's a place where it's a heaven realm where it is possible to practice, take it all the way to the end. And not only possible, it's inevitable. So if you ever heard someone say that you can't practice, you can't make progress in the heaven realms, that's not true across the board. But there are heaven realms where it's just so pleasant and there's a lot of enjoyment of sensuality, and it's not easy to practice in those heaven realms. Now, the next case is for a practitioner whose mind is not freed from the five lower fetters, but at the time of death, they don't get to see the Buddha, but they get to see a disciple of the Buddha. And there, of course, are a lot of disciples of the Buddha here in the world today. And the realized one's disciple teaches them the Dhamma with the same characteristics. It's good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well phrased. And they reveal a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. And when they hear that teaching, their mind is freed from the five lower fetters. That's the second benefit. Well, here's the third one. This gives me a lot of comfort and hope, because you never know where that's going to happen or what's going to be going on, right? So in this case, They don't get to see the Buddha, they don't get to see the Buddha's disciple, but they think about and consider the teaching in their heart, examining it with their mind as they've learned and memorized it. And as they do so, their mind is freed from the 5 lower fetters. Now, something that doesn't get mentioned here, but I know I'm confident is possible, is that the devas help. And if you haven't listened to Grace's talk from Monday night yet, I recommend it. If you want to learn more about how to connect with the devas, she's had a lot of experience. But this is really beneficial, and we're going to talk more about how this works in a minute. But not just the devas, but I mean this idea of examining on our own what we've learned and memorized to the point where the next big change in our development occurs before we die. Okay, next case. Now, this is someone whose mind is freed from the 5 lower fetters. So they've already gotten to that point. Of those 5 that I've described are gone, fallen away. But not with the supreme ending of attachment. So they're not fully enlightened. At the time of death, they get to see the realized one. And from that, they experience the supreme ending of attachments. They become enlightened before they die. Now, this does not, I don't think this means that it has to work that way necessarily, that you kind of have to have the 5 lower fetters gone first. I think it's possible to really kind of jet through the whole thing, but that's not represented here. So I'm not totally sure, but feels to me like, seems like it would be possible for full awakening, even if the first 5 fetters are not completely gone at the time of hearing this discourse. Okay, be that as it may, actually the 5th case is that the mind is free from the 5 lower fetters, but in this case, they don't hear the teaching from the Buddha, but a teaching from one of the Buddha's disciples. And their mind is freed with the supreme ending of attachments. And finally, even in this case, the 5 lower fetters are gone, but with their own thinking about and considering the teaching in their heart, examining it with their mind as they've learned and memorized it. As they do so, their mind is freed with the supreme ending of attachments. This is the 6th benefit of listening to the teaching. So these are the 6 benefits to hearing the teaching at the right time and examining the meaning at the right time. Okay. So now, regardless of wherever you think you are, the path, if we still have dukkha, if we still have clinging, then we just want to keep going. We don't have to have a, like, if we're like, oh yeah, I'm at this level or I'm at that level, if we think of it that way, we're probably not really, because that sounds very much like it's coming from the sense of self. So we want to, and the idea that I just need to work on these fetters and get rid of them also is very coming from the self view. So the approach that we want to take is absorbing the teachings and really investigating them and developing the whole Noble Eightfold Path. And so that the investigation, the vipassana practice, and then when I say that, of course, it triggers the packaging of vipassana in different ways in our culture, but let that go, because vipassana really just means that investigation, that practice, that bhavana, that development of the mind using investigation. So, of course, the calming of samatha goes with it. The practice of precepts goes with it. All of the aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path are essential. But now let's just consider preparing for that time of death. And what is the reflection on Dhamma that you would do in yourself Thank you, Kay. That what reflection on Dhamma that you would do within yourself at this very important time. And of course, we don't have to wait, because we can have an important moment anywhere along the way of really being present with the Dhamma in the heart. So as you think, like, what have you learned in the Dhamma, or what do you feel like you would want to tell yourself, to encourage yourself, to lift up your mind, to fire yourself up for letting go, for awakening? Any ideas? I think it's so inspiring, encouraging to see that it's possible to do that for ourselves, even without having dropped the 5 lower fetters. Yeah, Joni?
I really love this sutta. It's very encouraging. For myself, I actually had a experience. I was in the hospital about 4 years ago, and I was dying, and it was just all compassion.
Mm.
It was just a letting go of everything, and there was just compassion and I guess I would call it now like a bird's eye kind of view,
Mhm.
like spreading back toward to the beginning and then into the future. And we were just all the same.
Beautiful. Yep. So since you had that experience, you have some sense of the power, the potency of that moment, of that experience, that time, the right time, right? You also have experience of that just arising. You didn't have to tell yourself anything. Is that correct?
No, it just it came from because one of my foundational meditation practices is metta.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just, generated from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just,
Yeah.
happened by itself in a sense. But it also came from just you're lying there and there's just nothing you can do. And in regards to the pain or just there's nothing about it that you can control. Beepers are going off, all this kind of stuff. There's just nothing you can control. And there was that point of just letting go, letting go of the resistance, letting go of that, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and there was such relief in that.
Yes. Yes. And the that's so beautiful, Joni. I really appreciate you sharing this because it helps us know that not only, this way this sutta is positioned where we reflect on our own kind of like knowledge of the Dhamma, even if we can't reflect on it, like make ourselves, it's like the Dhamma. I have found also in those critical situations, the Dhamma arises out of the causes and conditions we've already put in through the practice. And when you were talking about how there's just this compassion, this is what practitioners who realize the Dhamma describe: compassion, love, being universal as part of that fabric of consciousness that is true, is the supreme reality. Beautiful. Thank you, Joan. I hope that gives you great confidence for whatever might happen.
Yeah, this suit, because I can lose track of that. But this sutta is like just such a great reminder of, yeah, that's, that can happen, that can be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And we might wonder sometimes, like, why would we lose track of something so precious? It's because we are embedded in this conventional reality with all of our conditioning. And we keep getting kind of sidetracked from that. So part of what we want to remind ourselves is that this is really what this seeing that there's no separation, seeing that there's no, difference between us, ultimately seeing that it's mindfulness and wisdom that brings us to what is just compassion, kindness, love, um, complete letting go. That's the true nature of reality. Thank you, Olive.
Thank you. My feeling at first when while we're listening to this is why wait? I mean,
Yeah.
and then I realized that it that the practice for me has been gradually along the way. There's been a degree of falling away. There's been some kind of degree of letting go of the fetters and the attachments. And so then, as you said, for me, it's about investigation on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that,
on a moment by moment basis.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I love the seven factors. Anyway,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mama.
thank you.
Yeah. Why wait? Don't wait. We practice this. And then, as we were saying, the practice comes back to support us in those right times. Um, yeah. I do think it's valuable to look at what we might want to memorize or you know, reflect on in our practice that would come up again later to support us. And that might change over time as you develop, which is completely fine. Like all good, really beneficial Dhamma talks just arise spontaneously within the person who's speaking. Out of the Dhamma, not out of memory, not out of preparation, not out of rehearsal. If we're rehearsing to give a Dhamma talk, it has a certain stiltedness. But if, like Ajahn Sumedho recalling how Ajahn Chah would just like be still at the beginning of his time sitting up on the high seat to give a Dhamma discourse, and then his eyes just going like there's nothing there. When speaking from that nothing there, no self there place. So to practice each of us ourselves to be in that place, using our meditation time, using our practice to, and not just meditation, but any moment of the day, to step back from the sense of self, to let go of our identity, what we identify with, what we cling to, and coming from that place of the Dhamma. And we know the difference because there's no suffering. There's peace. There's silence. Not even like it can be even within a noisy environment, but the noise, the sound that gets made in the physical world is not the silence, is not the opposite of the silence we're talking about. The silence in the mind, the silence that's behind the noise. And the pleasure that's behind the pain. No, let me try that again. It's the peacefulness that's behind pleasure and pain. And as we experience pleasure and pain and neutral in conventional reality, because we have a body and senses. But when we step back from that, when we let ourselves go into that space of the Dhamma, there's a contentment, a happiness behind the pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain are still happening, but we're not identifying with it or clinging to it. We can see it come and go. This is what we want to practice. And when we're dying, it'll naturally come back. Or if not, we have to remind ourselves. Yes, Serena.
I woke up this morning thinking about how much I'm still, even though it's been nearing a year now since Ron, my husband, has died, how much I'm still clinging to because of the loneliness, because I'm alone after 25 years of him by my side.
Yeah.
I'm still clinging to, I want him here, and he's not. I tell myself, face it, he's dead and gone. This is part of life. But my heart can't seem to find that place that you're speaking of. How do you step back from that?
Okay, this is a beautiful question. When is it exactly a year?
April 6th.
Okay. It's not quite there yet. But traditionally, among different cultures, that 1 year point is quite significant. People used to wear black for a whole year. My grandmother got married in black. Her father had passed away that year. So why do these cultures do that? Because you've had to travel through an entire year of all the cyclical events without that person. When you get to that point that year, you've experienced a whole year without that person. You could think of this as one of those right times. You know, there are these times, like the Buddha is saying in the sutta, you know, reflecting on the Dhamma at the right time. And reflecting on it at all the other times is helpful. But there can be a special kind of a moment when it's more potent.
Yeah.
I had something like this happen a couple of weeks ago in retreat. Because of being in retreat, being able to have the time and the focus and without going into much detail about it, something opened. And I think that what you can do to prepare yourself for that is to talk to the devas, ask the Buddha, the Arahants, the devas for help to let go. And to know that you have traveled through this year and you've grieved, and we can't control what feelings are going to come up. But we can practice stepping back from them and being present with them in a way that they aren't consuming us. And the more we practice in that way, the more we can let go of them. And sometimes, you know, the mind still clings, but there comes a time when it'll let go. And yeah, it's lonely. Sometimes it's helpful to find other people who also have gone through this or are going through this. Sometimes you even can find that on the internet. A sincere person who makes a lot of sense. Because it is really helpful to have Kalyanamitta, to have someone maybe you meet with regularly, online or in person, to talk about the Dhamma, be part of a group. Just think about it. And some people in this community meet on a regular basis with each other and talk about the Dhamma, because it's very helpful to have spiritual friends. And they don't all have to be at that same phase in life. Sometimes it's helpful to be in different stages of life, to really just encourage each other. But I think that, you know, if you're willing to let go, now sometimes you might meet people who just don't want to let go of a memory of, you know, they don't want to reflect on the fact that now Ron's a memory. And even when he was in this world, in the body, it was all sankharas.
Yeah.
And as a practitioner of the Buddha's teachings, you can bring that to your memory, not to discount it or to try to get rid of it or try to, you know, like push things away, but to just see the truth.
I was just thinking this morning, one of the thoughts was, Ron is a memory now.
Mhm.
So I'm clinging to a memory. I guess I need a little help in how to step back from the memory. Just tell myself, well, what I told myself this morning is going there is not helping me.
Mhm. Yeah. But it's understandable. We need to like give ourselves the credit or the understanding. It's like because it's a memory, but it's also been your kind of sense of safety,
Yeah,
security, stability. Like we have to find that safety, security, and stability inside ourselves.
that's it. So I think in my practice now, I really need to go there more deeply because I have realized I don't know who I am inside me now. Who is this person? I'm not Ron's wife anymore. I'm not a married woman anymore.
Right.
So what is here now? But I don't know, the sense of self. I mean, there's some practical part of that I need to understand apart from letting go of sense of self that I'm going to start some bereavement counseling next week. So maybe I can talk about that with that
Yeah.
person.
But this idea of the sense of self, are you on our WhatsApp community group?
No, I've been wondering how do I find that?
There's a place on our website where you can sign up,
Okay,
and then there's someone who takes care of that,
okay,
and you can get on there. But I want to, or maybe somebody who's on there, once you see Serena come on, maybe you can repost the little video that I posted recently of the actor who talked about this. Who am I? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Maybe you can repost that for Serena. It's like we want to peel away all the layers of who we think we are,
yeah,
all the way down to pure consciousness, which is not in any way personal. And when we do that, we find the stability. This is what the Buddha talked about when he was passing away, when he told his followers to be an island unto themselves, to take the Dhamma as their refuge. It's that level where we're not a personality anymore. We have a personality, we operate through the personality, we still have the patterns we have and the memories, but we know what they are. We don't take them seriously. We don't we don't cling to them and make the trouble we've made in the past thinking of ourselves. So it's like this is how we want to practice.
okay.
And this gate to the deathless, this mindfulness and awareness makes walking through that gate possible for all of us. Lay, monastic, young, old, doesn't matter. So this is the right time.
Yeah,
This present moment is always the right time to reflect on the Dhamma, to let it move us, to let it be our ground of being, letting go of all of the sankharas that are just coming and going, elusive and unreliable.
yeah.
Bless your heart, Serena.
Thank you, Ayya. I may need a little help with that, stepping back from some of that. I'm not very clear right now about, I don't know, maybe I can talk to you sometime.
Sure, and just keep engaging with
Okay,
this community and
yeah,
whatever community you find that encouragement in, and yeah, we help each other, and the clarity comes by listening to the Dhamma. Like you're going to just see it in this sutta, like the Buddha talking to you. The Buddha is talking to us through the Dhamma, through the suttas still. The Buddha is talking to us through the suttas, and his disciples are here and now still talking to us. And we, in our own heart, have the Dhamma, and we can investigate the Dhamma and discover ourselves and talk to ourselves, encourage ourselves. You can give yourself a guided meditation. You can give yourself a Dhamma talk. And, like, and the confusion.
Yeah.
It's good to see that we're confused when we're confused.
Oh, I do see that.
And then to step back into, well, what do I really know?
Okay.
What do I know?
Do I know?
What do I know for sure?
Right now, I feel like all I know is that he is dead and gone, and I'm stuck in clinging there. That's what I know right now.
You know more than that.
Okay.
What do you know about the Dhamma? You don't have to answer me right now. Maybe you write it down.
Okay.
What do you know about the Dhamma?
Okay. That's good. I'll spend some time with that. That's very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ayya.
Paula?
Hi, thanks for this. I had just been thinking about when you asked the question about how do we prepare ourselves for that moment of death, as to memorizing a particular sutta, something that is surprising or something that was inspiring. And I think I'd heard this also previously, and I've been thinking about it because when we had that as a practice in our Upasaka program, it was super powerful. And recently I heard what I memorized, and like, it just brought me to a great place. And so I would like to consider memorizing suttas, maybe at least starting with one that I could use at the time of death. And I was thinking about the digital version of the Pali Canon that I think you've mentioned, Wisdom Publishing, and you can like search. And I was wondering if that would be a good tool to use for finding passages that maybe are of interest, or if you have some recommendations of suttas that might be helpful at the time of death to reflect on. I think it's probably different for every person, but my feeling is that I would like to memorize a sutta that would help me with having some mindfulness and wisdom at that time, and also kind of seeing things as they truly are. What can I say?
Yeah. So first question, yes. I think for anyone, if you want to, it's kind of pricey, but purchase the digital version of the Sutta Pitaka, the suttas. It's in the four major Nikayas. You could also get the Sutta Nipata. Most of it's translated by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. The long discourses by Maurice Walsh. But if you get those in PDF format, then you can search for anything in there, right? It makes it easy, and you can compare the and as Joni's pointing out here, you can reading faithfully. You can search for things too. You don't have to purchase the. But I was going to say you can compare the translations that way also with the Bhante Sujatos on Sutta Central. So if you're inclined to do that, I would recommend it. The Wisdom Publishing books, but it's also like there are these other ways to search. You can use the digital Pali reader. There's the digital Pali dictionaries, a new dictionary that there's a monastic that's developing that. Now that's the basic dictionary that Sutta Central refers to, and that's got a search function. Reading faithfully, like Joni said, is a place where you can search the suttas. And or you can, just see something that really leaps out at you as we study. There's sometimes like there's this sutta that I've shared before, these 6 things. It's in the book of sixes, obviously. I think it might be number 78, these 6 things. It's called the Sukha Somanasa Sutta. I just love saying that. It's the Joy and Happiness Sutta. And it's the 6 things that the practitioner takes delights in. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about before. It's a very short sutta, but it's a really good, like you delighting in the Dhamma, delighting in the bhavana, the practice, the development of the mind. And it goes on to other things to delight in. And it's just a beautiful reminder of putting our attention on those things being in our life. This and delight in kindness is in there. Delight in non-proliferation. Delight in seclusion. There's just all these beautiful things to take delight in. And do we delight in the practice? And I don't mean just meditation. We're so conditioned to think that practice is meditation. It's part of it, but it's not the whole thing. We can practice in every moment. You can come to this present moment from the position of Dhamma and see things, understand things, not blame ourselves, not blame others, but recognize it's all coming through, the arising and ceasing of conditions. And then another one that I love, and both of these are also, I think, probably the pieces of the text that Ajahn Pasano likes, he brings up over and over again. Anywhere that you find that quote on this is peaceful, this is sublime, the stilling of all activities, letting go of all attachments, the ending of craving, fading away, cessation, nirvana. It's like so beautiful. And so, yeah, you can memorize whole suttas, long or short, but look to the things that really inspire the heart, really help you let go. Ajahn Pasano, I was talking to him not long ago, and he brought up that quote again, and I pulled out my laminated version that's on my table. I was saying, just, like, have it there for yourself, even if you've got it in your mind. You can, like, your eyes fall on it, and there's that encouragement. It's on yellow paper, whatever, So, yeah, we have the opportunity to counterbalance the really strong influences of samsara. We are bombarded with the whole notion that samsara is reality, and we're supposed to find happiness in it somehow, or fulfillment. So we take these things that we call accomplishments in samsara, our possessions, not just the physical ones, the material ones, but also the mental ones, the relationships, all of the stuff that's just constantly changing and entirely out of our control. The body, the activities of the mind. And until we really face that and step back from it and start to ground ourselves in the Dhamma, in what does not change, and get used to that this is peaceful, this is sublime, this doesn't change, there's contentment, there's happiness, the happiness that's behind all those pleasure and pain and the whole panorama and plethora of activities and conditions. It keeps sucking us in to the world, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying it. The other day, it was so apparent to me, like we the meal is offered, and then we go get our food with the bowls, and it's beautiful, wonderful food with all kinds of love going into the cooking. We've had such beautiful support here during the winter retreat, and you sit down with this lovely food and you chant, wisely reflecting. I use alms food, not for fun, not for pleasure, not for fattening, not for beautification, only for the maintenance and nourishment of this body, for helping the holy life, etc. And then after that, I say to them, enjoy the meal. And it's like, what? We can enjoy without being attached. We can eat to live and still enjoy the taste of the food, but we know we're not gonna cling to it. It gets in your mouth and it's already yucky. When it comes out the other end, it's really yucky. But we can enjoy it anyway. So it's not about becoming austere. It's not about becoming downcast and grumpy and kind of, that's aversion. And we want to practice to see the body for what it is, but not with aversion, not with I want to get rid of it. I want to be done with it. Not even that for samsara. It's just knowing that we don't have to be grounded in samsara, grounded in the Dhamma, where it is peaceful, it is sublime, there is contentment. That happiness that's beyond or behind the pleasure and pain, that happiness is really peaceful. And you can gain a confidence in your ability to be mindful and aware of whatever is arising. When you get to the point where you want to be present and aware with everything arising and passing away, then you're free, or very close to it. Suzanne?
Thank you, Ayya, for this talk, and it's very inspiring what you're saying. I also want to give a shout out to Mara and Santi, the death meditation. So
Yeah.
that was one of my goals for this year, is to do it every night. I haven't done it every night, but several nights a week, I'll listen to Dhamma Seed, and there are different approaches. And I know some are more compassion, some are more impermanence. And so, gosh, and then about a month ago, I fell in a friend's garage on cement.
Oh.
So I think I fell on my seat, and then my head went back and hit the cement. Yeah, total freak out. And so I just was like, really calmly, I went to the ER, and there was this thinking like, oh, the pelvis was fractured, the skull was fractured. So it was laying in the ER, kind of similar to what Joni went through, maybe not as extreme. It was like thinking, this is the end. And then impermanence came up. And I think she used relief. It was just this amazing relief of letting go. And so that's kind of the question too, like, is that appropriate to the impermanence versus the compassion?
I think you'll find compassion following on the impermanence. So, there's the there's the really seeing this impermanent nature of the body and of everything. And usually that brings with it happiness and compassion naturally. Compassion and metta and karuna come with it. So yeah, I think you'll find both. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after about 3 hours, every now and then that thought would come in like, oh no, cracked skull. Then the doctor came in and said, no, nothing's cracked.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good because that gives you more time, but it's also like, so what?
Yeah.
So what? You know, things are going to happen. The body's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and there's just this wish, like wanting to be able to remember this. Because I remember I did a course with Venerable Anālayo, and he said, if I can just recommend one practice to anyone, it's Maranasati. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could remember that all the time, because we never know when we're going to die. It might not be the ER.
Yeah, I love Bhante Anālayo's teachings. I don't know if he still sleeps in a coffin, but he was doing that for a while. It's like, but Maranasati isn't the only practice. So see what helps you let go, what helps you become still, what helps you become still enough to hear the silence that isn't created by an absence of noise. I don't know if that's making that clear. The silence behind the noise, the silence that's always there when you tune into it. You know, what is it that helps you let go? It's different things at different times. The Buddha gave so many different approaches to practice because we have different characteristics and different conditioning, and we have different situations and times in our life. So find what really is supportive and make use of it to the best of your ability. This really is the best thing to do with a human life. You don't have to pick up the robes, although if that's where you're inclined, great. But a lot of times that's not available, and it doesn't matter. Pick up the practice. We can do it in any moment. Do it in every moment. So thank you, all of you. It's a beautiful blessing to be part of this community. And I appreciate everyone's practice. You're a serious lot, you all. I like it. Being serious doesn't mean you're not happy, by the way. It's like be serious and happy. Committed.